Manchester United 4, Real Betis 1. The perfect response. Just the exact scoreline and performance that United needed after the weekend. And not just that. That is, you would hope, 1 foot in the quarter-final as well for United, isn't it?
3-goal cushion, you should think so, shouldn't you? Yeah. And to anybody who was sort of worried about us playing the same team, we saw it all on Twitter prior to the game. Everyone was like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you doing that? That proved exactly why he did it, because he wanted the response from him, and boy, did they give him the response, especially in that second half, Joe.
Yeah, massive. Just going through some of the quick stats, we'll get them on the screen in a second. 57% possession, but the massive stats here. 25 shots to Betis' 6, 13 on target to Betis' 2. United, you can see them there. United completely dominant in that second half. I mean, we'll get into it. Probably could have been 6 or 7, really. But let's go back to that first half where I thought, first 15 minutes, United came out of the blocks really well. Clearly keen to sort of prove that Sunday's behind us. We're not even thinking about that anymore. Then we got the goal. Great finish from Marcus Rashford. Then there was a sort of caginess, wasn't there, that came partly because of a couple of mishit passes from De Gea, but also just a slight nerve in the air, would you say, after Rashford's goal went in? Yeah,
it was almost like, I think they were almost suffering a little bit of what happened against Liverpool, where they were sort of almost rushing to try and get, not back into the game in that context, but in this one, get too far ahead that quickly because he started off so quick. And it sort of give Betis a little bit more time on the ball to play around, sort of get comfortable, get settled. And then we saw it. They got into the game a lot more than they really should have done. And it wasn't helped by David De Gea's inability to provide a half-decent pass. And I don't know how he's managed to fuck up 3 in a row as he did. Yeah. And we've gone back to the third one. We said it on the stream.
Well, it was 1-1 at that point, wasn't it? So 1-1, obviously phenomenal finish Rashford. I know we're not giving it much attention, but I need to get to Weghorst in a minute. But phenomenal finish from Rashford. But it's 1-1, just as the game's looking like, are we a little bit fragile? Could this go the other way? Could this be a bit of an upset, almost like we saw against Sociedad? And then De Gea gives the ball straight to their player 25 yards out, doesn't he?
It was straight.
Yeah,
and no one can say that it was almost. Oh, he was close. He was, it was almost there. He was a good 6-7 yards from who he intended to pass the ball to, and that, as if you're looking as a defender at that scenario, and we saw it in the second half, they didn't want to pass him the ball. They were very reluctant to. They had to in that first couple of minutes or so. It almost was good that he actually got a few touches in because I think he needed him. But throughout the rest of the second half period, he didn't receive the ball pretty much at all because. No. His best pass was a clearance right at the end.
And partly the reason he didn't receive it is because I think people are cautious. But luckily, we escaped that. And the other part is, second half, I don't know what Ten Hag said or what happened in the dressing room at half-time, but other than the first maybe couple of minutes of the second half when there was a couple of wayward passes, one straight over Wan-Bissaka's head, other than that, United's second half was phenomenal, wasn't it? Like, completely controlled the game. They had 1 shot on target. They had 1 shot in the entire second half. They came in with 5 shots, 1 on target. The end of the game was 6 shots, 1 on target. And I think in the second half, United had something like 13, 14 shots. It was a completely dominant second half, wasn't it?
Yeah, and when Andy said at half-time that I think he didn't really need to go in on him at half-time, I think he must have done, because he couldn't have been happy with what he saw in the first half, especially with how De Gea was misplacing passes. We had clear-cut chances that we really should have been going into the second half, at least 2-1 up, and we said it at half-time. But I think he's instilled into them in that sort of 10-15 minute period. Go out and just punish him, be clinical, and like you say, it should have been 6 or 7. It should have been quite. We saw Pellistri having chances. We saw Weghorst having a couple beforehand, and I'm just happy that when Anthony got it was almost like a half chance. You knew what he was going to do because he'll get it on the edge of the box, cut in, and sometimes it goes 3 or 4 yards over the bar. Sometimes it goes so far wide it's ridiculous. But on this occasion, he hit the ball, and the ball was almost in the air for about what felt like 5 or 6 seconds. It just flew straight into the top bins, and it was a beautiful goal. And from then on, we were absolutely clinical. We dominated every possession in midfield. We dominated it. We were pressing from the front when we didn't have the ball, which wasn't for a lot of the time anyway. And then, of course, we go to Bruno's goal.
Yeah.
It's the most basic, and I can't highlight it anymore, the most basic defending off of a set piece. It's a corner.
Corner from United's left-hand side. They're obviously defending on their right. Bruno starts on the penalty spot, runs basically to the corner of the 6-yard box, nods it in, and no one is within a yard of him the entire time. Like, no one tracks him. No one's like trying to get to him. They literally just go, what's it? Oh, he scored. Like that, it was... subpar isn't even the word, is it? It was non-existent defending is what it actually was. No one even made an attempt to get near him. But by that point, from that point, 58th minute, that third goal goes in. We saw Anthony sort of one-on-one with the goalkeeper twice. One time he chipped it over him and over the bar, and I think if you squared it, it's a guaranteed goal.
There was on that there was 3 plays on side.
Yeah, there was literally 3 players queuing up to tap the ball in, and he didn't pass it. And at the time, and maybe even now, part of me goes, I like that he was a bit...
No, Joe.
Numbers-wise,
nobody likes that.
Nobody likes that. Don't get me wrong, he should have done.
Nobody liked that.
Then also Anthony was one-on-one with the goalkeeper. He hits it, and it's a good save from Bravo in the end. I think, who else had chances? Weghorst had 2 or 3 chances where his toe's not quite there. But then, in the 82nd minute, something magical happened.
It was magic. Yeah.
Pellistri, actually, let's not forget about him in all this. Going around the outside of about 5 players, sort of looks like he's always running away, and then manages to cut back inside, pulls it back. Scott McTominay, a shot from 6 yards out or so, gets blocked straight by the defender, and the ball falls to Wout Weghorst's feet. And after, I mean, we're bigging this up a little bit, but based on his reaction, he would want us to. Wow, does he hit the ball straight into the ground? But it's into an open goal.
The surface was wet.
The surface was moist. It skipped off the ground and into our hearts. And Wout Weghorst's celebration was like...
Van Nistelrooy.
Yes. It was like there was a game being played where whoever wins it wins all of the trophies that have ever existed. Like, if you win this, you win all the World Cups, all the... Like, imagine if aliens were coming, they're like, you've got till Tuesday and we are decimating the earth. And we went, let's just have one big footy final. Winner takes all. It was like he scored the winner in that game, his celebration. He was like vibrating with happiness, wasn't he?
You saw his celebration. He was shaking. He was sliding. His slide was perfect. I bet the picture's beautiful. We'll see it probably on social.
There, look
at that.
That's him.
Even the one that's facing him, he was sat there giving it that with the flag behind him, and he was so happy. But I almost felt like that celebration had so much relief in it as well.
Oh yeah,
because he'd missed 2 or 3 very, very good chances. I think the one in the first half that it should have been a corner, but he should really be scoring that at the front post anyway. To me, he should be scoring that. He had the chest. He actually scored. You remember in the first half, where he chested the ball. He was offside. He had a header, I think, that got saved. He had the shot that obviously hit into the ground that got blocked by the defender. So you're thinking it's going to be one of them games, innit? He's going to 1 goal in 15 appearances or whatever it is. He's not good viewing, and I guess 2 in 15 isn't
2 in 15 isn't much better. Great. But that's his first goal at Old Trafford as well, because the other goal was away at Forest, wasn't it? And I think it all sort of built up. His first goal at Old Trafford, I bet he's getting to the point where he thinks if Martial's not far from coming back from injury, on current form, I don't know if he'd even displace him, but there's a chance that Wout Weghorst might never score at Old Trafford again, and might have never scored at Old Trafford. And I love he was smashing his own head with his fist,
crying.
He was crying. I couldn't tell if he was crying, but I couldn't rule out that he was crying because there was a squinting in a sort of expression of emotion that literally, it was genuinely like winner takes all. If you score,
life
the human
defining.
Race is saved. If you don't, everyone's dead. The celebration was absolutely incredible. It just makes you like him, doesn't it? You can't help but like him, especially when he works as hard as he does. And sometimes you think you're so slow that I almost can't believe you're a professional footballer. But obviously, underneath that kind of oil tanker body, he's got a lot of heart, a lot of hard work, and he is difficult to play against. He does a lot to help United win the ball back in those final areas.
So I think he's so important for us as well right now, because when have we ever had a centre forward who's running like that constantly? He doesn't. Never mind his goal output being pants. He's just forward pressing constantly. He's never off it. He's almost making more tackles than fullbacks at times when trying to win the ball back in our front third, in the middle of the park. His pressing is, I think it's underrated at times. People always saying, "Oh, he's not a goal scoring centre forward," which is such a daft
but also,
statement anyway.
Fundamentally, United need a goal scoring centre forward.
We need it.
No one's arguing that. Forget Kane and Osimhen. This is the guy.
Yeah.
But it's good to give someone credit for something and to try and sort of look at how hard he's working and actually how effective he's been. Because, and obviously the Liverpool game aside, we don't lose many games when he's playing. You know, we win most of the time, and I think he helps facilitate us winning games, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I think he brings into play our wide players and Bruno, I think, a lot more because there's more chances of us being on the ball in dangerous areas.
Yeah.
Because he's winning it back in those areas. And look, we've seen Anthony get another goal, and his output obviously needs to improve, but it's a good start. It's a good start tonight. Rashford's been absolutely ridiculous anyway. Don't need to really say much on him, but the way that he can almost interchange with Bruno as well.
Yeah.
I just seem to think that I've got a feeling we are going to sign him.
Yeah,
and I know it's easy. I know it's very easy to say that when he's just scored. He's I think, did he get an assist as well? Or was that Bruno? Even then, he scored tonight. He's played pretty well. He's been all right.
Yeah,
but I can see us signing him on top of a main centre forward, and I think it will be communicated to him in the summer that look, your game time will be a lot less than what it was in those 6 months that you were here on loan. But I think he'd be all right with that because he's sort of selfless in the way that he plays for us.
Yeah, and I think he's one of those players. How much are we going to pay for him genuinely? What, 6 million, 8 million, 10 million? Like, I'm not saying sign him up. We need him, but depending on the situation with Martial, we know he's a competent player that can get you through a two-legged tie against Barcelona, for instance. Do you know what I mean? He's not. I think we saw. He's obviously got his weaknesses, and he missed big chances, especially in the away leg. He had that great chance that he missed, but he's the sort of player that I don't think it hurts to have him in the dressing room. Do you know what I mean?
I think one thing that he has different from Martial, and we've seen it in these sort of 2 months he's been here. I think he's only missed like 1 game or 2 games.
Yeah,
you know, and imagine Martial doing the running that Weghorst does. You would never see it anyway because he's not that pressing forward. But if Martial did that, he'd pull a hamstring. Yeah. Or he'd pull a thigh out for weeks again.
But you know what, actually, do you know the actual truth is? If Martial did that, he'd be a top striker. If Martial put the effort in...
I think he'd finish more,
and sprinted, and he might be injured, obviously, but I do think his game lacks that. Even when he's at his best, he's got better at hold-up plays, his sort of runs in behind have got a lot better, but you still question his work rate, I think. But maybe there's a physical
he looks good
sort
in pre-season as
there.
well, didn't he? He did look good in pre-season, and we sat there going, oh, his work rate might improve at that point, but... Where do you draw the line on him? Yeah, you know, he's been here like 7-8 years. Will this be his 8th year?
I think so.
And where do you draw the line? You know, especially on a player who misses more games than he plays.
Before we carry on, hit the like button. Let's get to 1,000 likes on the video. Let's look forward a little bit. So United have got Southampton this weekend, but sticking with the Europa League theme.
Yeah.
Are you resting players next week? Are you playing a sort of mostly strong squad and hoping we can bring players off, or are you just saying 3 goals that can be cut like that if you have a bad half? Like, what's your sort of outlook for the rest of the time now? Because obviously, not just heavy favourites. United are overwhelming favourites to win this. You'd be stunned if we didn't make it to the quarterfinals. But how would you approach the next sort of 10 days?
Yeah, I can see a pretty much an unchanged team Sunday. Yeah. Southampton, keep the momentum going, and then I think. Even being 3 goals up, I think he'd still be a little bit cautious. He'll rotate, but I think he'd only rotate maybe 4,
I think
max
certain
5.
Players, I think Casemiro, Varane, and maybe Rashford won't start.
Yeah.
Maybe even Bruno.
I think he'd probably still play Bruno.
Too much.
I know, but I know we've got a very important cup quarter-final days after it. Yeah. But he knows that if the players can deal with that sort of workload, he's been.
They've got the data and the stats and all that, haven't they?
Yeah,
they can see stuff.
He's been with them all season, and I think it'll be relatively unchanged. Sunday, I think Thursday it'll make 4 or 5. I won't be surprised if we saw Pulisic start on Thursday. No. You know, Garnacho brought in again. Weghorst probably starting again. But yeah, I think he'll rotate. I think he'll make 4 max 5 changes on Thursday coming, and then if it starts going tits up, like we can see 2 goals in 15-20 minutes, it'll make changes like that straight away.
Yeah, definitely. Massive win that tonight for United. Southampton, one that obviously we can't afford to overlook, but a huge rebound after that absolute battering, and it's a really good sign to me. I know it remains to be seen whether this was a sort of an immediate response, almost like the slingshot coming back a little bit, and who knows how we'll be over the next 4 or 5 games, what mental effect that game will have had. But to immediately respond like that, and to take that mental hit of conceding the equaliser, of this game being one where it could slip away from you. There's no guarantee going in at 1-1 at half time that, we could have been sat here after the 75th minute. It's still 1-1 and we're all shitting it. That wouldn't have been a shock. So to have that in the locker from Ten Hag and the players to go out in the second half and absolutely dominate the game and make chance after chance, completely destroy Betis, if we're honest. We should have scored 6 goals in that second half. It's a massive testament to, I think, how far the players have come mentally over the last 12 months. And to me, that is an absolutely massive result. Probably bigger, than the actual scoreline suggests. I think that showed a lot tonight, didn't it?
Yeah, and it was questioned so much about the lineup, whether it should be unchanged or not going into the game. And he proved it. He made the biggest decision of the night, arguably, correct by playing that exact same team.
Yeah.
And you could see if the players, when we conceded the goal, they could get a flashback because it was so close when it happened with Liverpool, that they're like, oh, it's happening again now. We've conceded, and their heads almost could have dropped in that scenario. And I do think half time was a good time when it come, because it allowed Ten Hag to sort of communicate to them what he wants, and obviously the communication worked, didn't it? Because we go into the second half and they don't have a sniff. They have one shot, and it didn't even trouble De Gea at that point. So I agree with you 100% in the sense that win, and especially how we played in the second half, when you compare it to the previous second half that we played, the Liverpool, when we conceded 6 goals, it was a completely different performance, and you can't underestimate what that will have done for those group of players, especially going into a game like Sunday where you will be heavily favourites against Southampton, but let's not forget they're fighting to keep their place in the Premier League, so it's going to be almost same calibre as this game.
Yeah, definitely.
Very,
it's
very
tough game, that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a massive game. Right, thank you very much for joining us, Jordan. Thank you for coming on. Give your socials a little plug. Where can people find you?
JD Simpson 98 on Twitter. As always, Joseph.
JD Simpson 98 on Twitter. Make sure you check him out. Thank you for joining us. 4-1 to Manchester United. The perfect response, as you can see right there. Weghorst getting his Old Trafford debut goal.
Oh, he was so
what
happy,
a phenomenal
happy.
finish it was. Anthony and Rashford's goals were alright as well. And so was Bruno Fernandez's. But it's all about Weghorst, isn't it? Let's be honest. Yeah. Look at him. Vibrating with happiness.
Look,
I haven't seen that in a very long time.
Look how happy Sancho looks about the back.
Sancho's giddy as well. You couldn't not be happy for him. Everyone was smiling and sort of laughing and kind of going, does this mean slightly too much to him? But also, no, it doesn't.
No,
it means just enough.
The world.
Yes. Hit subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll be back tomorrow with the news, with the brew, all that good stuff coming, and the build-up to the Southampton game, of course, will be here as well. Thank you very much for joining us. Manchester United 4, Real Betis 1, 1 foot in the quarter-final. We'll see you in a bit.